This is Earl Amin with the 2020 Foresight Podcast, where CEOs of small to global companies share their insights. It is 6 questions in 9 minutes because top CEOs know how to listen and be concise. So let's get to it. First of all, welcome. And in just a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, Earl. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here on this podcast. Very briefly, my name is Shteyn, and I'm the chairman, president, and CEO of a Brazilian fintech startup that is oriented towards offering financial inclusion to the working class of Brazil. The idea is that we touch underbanked customers and we transform them into prime customers using tech-enabled microcredit.
Very interesting. I know something about that. Very interesting. Well, let me ask you this. What's the best thing about being the CEO of your company?
So this is actually something that I've thought about for quite a long time before I actually got into this line of work as a startupper. And I think there's quite a few things that are great. But if I had to prioritize, I think it's almost like having a baby and watching that baby grow. And that baby is your dream. That baby is the startup. And there's no feeling like it when you sort of start with all the anxieties and the risks that you have to take as a startup guy. And then you see this business succeed. In the case it succeeds, and hopefully it does. And then you're in a position where you've actually made an impact. You make an impact to your customers' lives. If you achieve product market fit, you make an impact to your employees and collaborators' lives because you're creating jobs. And I think that that's a social good. And then finally, your product and your startup and your idea is creating something positive for society so that if you step under a bus the next day, you will have left something behind in terms of a positive legacy.
Agreed. Very good. Well, I'm sure that you've worked with other CEOs, and in my experience, as I hear from other CEOs who express that leading their team and being able to see the road ahead can be a challenge. What are your thoughts?
It absolutely can. And I think that the best way of dealing with such challenges is to actually understanding some introspective. Who are you as a leader? What is your strength? What is your weakness, or strengths and weaknesses? And how do you motivate people? Are you even able to motivate people? Are you even able to understand people? Are you able to read people? Are you able to provide what they need in order to rise to the challenge, whatever that challenge will be? From my speaking personally, I think that I'm pretty good at inspiring people. I'm pretty good at breaking down complex issues into smaller, more digestible chunks that then other people have a lot more grasp of, and they can ultimately succeed in what it is that they have to do. But again, everybody has some quality that they need to know, and everybody should be, of course, watching out for a weakness or key weakness that they have.
Right. Well, based on that breadth of experience, what piece of insight do you want to share with other CEOs?
Well, so Earl, I guess I kind of jumped the gun with the answer to the previous question a little bit, but I think that that's really the case. I think spending a little bit of time outside of the day-to-day, whether it's on a weekend, whether it's taking a couple of days off and just standing back from the day-to-day and trying to think, where is it that we need to go? What is it that I need to do? How do I lead better? What are the potential pitfalls here? What are, going over the SWOT in your mind in a way that is outside of the day-to-day. And I can't stress that enough, because during the day, you will have people from outside of your business. You will have people inside your business. You will have your family. You will have your kids. You will have your dog. And they're all fighting for a piece of the most precious asset you have, and that is your time. And if you're being pulled in all these different directions, you cannot think strategically. You can, or the best you can do is to think tactically and hopefully not to make too many mistakes. So what I found works for me is to take a little bit of time out of my schedule in order to think strategically.
Very good. And now I'm sure, man, with your experience, have encountered other successful CEOs like yourself. Which of them would you like to acknowledge here and now and should be on my podcast?
So there's a gentleman called, whose name is Al Goldstein. He is the founder of a couple of fintechs in the States, Avant, Amount, Innova. And he is one of those people that strikes you as super smart, but again, very down to earth kind of guy. And again, a lot of the time, it's inspiring to have somebody, to look at somebody, and that person looks at a problem and he can think 5 steps ahead. And that inspires you to try to do the same. And if you don't do that, well, at least you will have thought 3 steps ahead, which is still better than 2 steps ahead that a lot of other people can do, or the immediate step that most people can do. And I think that that's the kind of person that you want to hang out with. You want to, it's really easy, whether it's Al or somebody else, try to find people that are awe-inspiringly smarter than you are and try to learn.
Sure. Well, for the final question, how do you celebrate a win?
Great question. I'd say personally, I will pour myself a couple of fingers worth of scotch. But it depends on the win. Some wins you want to celebrate with your team. Some wins you celebrate with your family. Some wins it's enough to just, pour a little bit of scotch and think about there's another bullet I've dodged. There's another win that I've notched. I ultimately depends on the type of win, but that's the gamut, I'd say.
Well, Daniel, it's a pleasure having you on today. How can people find you?
They're more than welcome to hit me up on LinkedIn. So that's linkedin.com/Daniel Shteyn, Shteyn. Or they can, from there, they can always send me an email, or I'm also available at using my email at daniel@supersim.com.br.
Outstanding. This is Earl Amin with the 2024 Site Podcast. For more insights, go to LinkedIn and search for The Gray Owl Company. Daniel, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, Earl. And thanks, everyone.